As my dad entered his 60s and he began to wind down his career, he made a life-changing decision. No more shoes. Instead, he and my stepmom were going to wear nothing but open-toed Birkenstocks with funky colored patterned socks. Now, you might think of this as a disinterested disengagement from life, or maybe an enlightened embrace of eccentricity. But whatever you think about it, it was personal and it was stylish. Now, as we enter our 60s and as we start to wind down our careers, many of us think, that's it, I am ditching the suit, I am ditching the uniform, I am wearing nothing but this ratty t-shirt I found at the bottom of the drawer and a pair of cargo shorts. Now, I'm here to suggest that maybe that's not the best idea, and instead, maybe we should follow my dad's lead and embrace a personal style. Now, before we get too far into this, let's acknowledge that there are very good reasons that people want to abandon the clothes that they've worn through their work life. If you're anything like me, you spent 30, 40, maybe even more years in the workplace, and whenever you went to work, you put on a uniform. That uniform might have been something that was literally a uniform, like the uniform a police officer would wear, a fireman would wear, or a doctor would wear, the scrubs and white coat. But more likely, it was an understood kind of uniform. It was a suit and a tie, or it was an Oxford cloth button-down with a Patagonia vest if you live in Seattle and you work in the business world. And after all that time wearing the uniform, once we get that first taste of freedom, all we want to do is get rid of that and embrace something new. Another factor that shows up at this time in our lives is that more of us begin to live on more of a fixed income. And every expense starts to matter in a different way than it did before when we have more money coming in. Spending a lot of money on clothes just doesn't seem like the greatest idea to everybody. And the third reason that I think is one that is in the back of everyone's mind, and some people have articulated, is that no one cares anymore. Nobody's looking at you. You're not going into a workplace where everyone is trying to assess your status and your position within the company and whether or not they should listen to you. So you don't need to engage in that same status signaling behavior. Tossing the old clothes, however, does have a drawback. A couple of drawbacks, actually. The first off is that you lose the uniform and you lose the sense of identity that goes with the uniform. If you're not wearing scrubs, are you a doctor? If you're not wearing your suit, are you management? So there's that sense that you've lost something by letting go of those clothes. Another thing is the flip side of no one cares. And that's, no one cares? That can be kind of hard to deal with because if we're honest about it, we want at least a few people to care, whether we're introverted or extroverted. We would like people to notice that we're there. So the first thing I'm here to tell you about cultivating a personal sense of style is that people do care. They do notice. A great example of this is one day I decided I was going to put on a suit jacket and a matching pair of pants and wear one of my favorite hats when I walked downtown to my co-working space. On my way down, I was approaching a stoplight and I paused. Behind me, I heard the pitter-pitter-pitter-pitter-pat of somebody running up beside me. I look to the side and it's a young man and he looks at me and he says, "Sir, I just wanted to say that you look so suave." Now, I don't think I've ever been called suave before, and maybe I don't totally agree with him, but it still felt nice to be noticed and recognized. And I can say with complete confidence that this happens regularly. If you take the time to do something personal, people do notice it. They're paying attention to you, even if you don't think they are. I also want to let you know that it's not ruinously expensive to cultivate style and to purchase the clothes that would be integrated into that style. There is, of course, the option of getting secondhand clothes. Vintage and thrifting are very useful ways to get clothes. Personally, I don't like sorting through all that stuff. I have found an occasional really great thing, but it's not really my cup of tea. But many people love the thrill of the hunt. Another possibility, again, I don't endorse fast fashion. I think it's a bad thing generally, but Uniqlo, I have found, has great, durable, comfortable, and fairly attractive clothing there. I use it for all of my socks and for t-shirts and other small accessories. And lastly, my absolute favorite are the end of season sales. You see, I learned that retailers, once they've brought the clothes into their store and purchased them, nobody's going to refund that money to them if they don't sell them. So if the end of season comes around, say the end of winter comes around and they're stuck with a bunch of winter jackets, they're happy to get rid of them at any price. So they will have sales. And if you see something that isn't on sale, make an offer. They may take it. I've had great luck getting wonderful, wonderful clothes at an incredible bargain. Great example of this. At the end of one season, there was a Fedeli sweater on sale. Now, these kind of sweaters are Italian. They typically run for about in the ballpark of $1,000 a sweater. And there is no way I am buying a sweater for $1,000, no matter how nice it is. But that same sweater for under $200? Yes, sold. And it's easy to get started cultivating your personal style, because it really doesn't matter what you wear. What matters is that you pay attention to what you wear and that you choose what you wear with intention. Remember my dad's Birkenstocks. Now, Birkenstocks you wouldn't ordinarily think of as necessarily fashionable, but he chose them with intention. He paid attention to the kinds of things that he wore them with, and it became a personal style. Other things that you should consider as you get started are quality. Things that are better quality will last longer, and you will enjoy wearing them more. They will feel more comfortable on your body. The same goes for clothing that fits well. When you're purchasing clothes, make sure that they're comfortable, you can move freely, they're not too bulky, not too clingy, not too constricting. And if you get something that's close but not quite, find a tailor. Most dry cleaners will do alterations. You can find tailors that do reasonable alterations for not a lot of money, and it makes a huge difference in how much you enjoy the clothes that you wear. Lastly, remember, clothing is not like tattoos. Tattoo, you get it once and you have it forever. But clothing, you can try the craziest combinations you want, colors you think would never work together. And if they really don't work together, just take them off. They don't even have to last for 10 minutes after you try them. But occasionally you'll find a combo that really works. You're like, hey, this is great. And that leaves us with the most important part and advantage to cultivating personal style. Is this just fun? It's something to do. It's really interesting. And you'll get a few compliments on the way. So let me just remind you once again that you still do have many gifts to offer that world. So why not offer that gift in a beautifully and thoughtfully wrapped package? Thanks for spending time with me today, and I hope to see you again in a future video. And in the meantime, why don't you try checking out one of these videos?